Welcome everyone to another podcast of It's Me, Not You. Hello, Jake. How are you today?
Hello, love. I'm doing phenomenal. I am happy to be here again. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. And Melissa Neely, what's up, girlfriend?
Hello.
So this is going to be a Melissa and Jake primary episode. Rachel will chime in if she has any knowledge to impart on the listeners, but it's going to be mainly Jake and Melissa. So Melissa, please take it away.
Well, I'm excited that we're doing this on Imbolc, which is my favorite holiday. It's the holiday for Saint Bridget. She is, I love her so much. Like when I taught my class last week, that's all I did was talk about her. Actually, on Tuesday, it wasn't even last week. So I have been doing my celebration for about a day because like the Celtic traditions start the sunset the eve before, and it kind of ends the sunset of the following day. Are you familiar with it at all, Rachel? Imbolc?
Yes.
How do you celebrate?
I celebrate by doing what Melissa tells me to do.
That's perfect.
It's a great start.
What about you, Jake? What do you do to celebrate?
For me, I really do a lot of meditation through card work, with candlelight. I will do some meditation with Bridget. For me as a practicing witch, I look at her more of in the goddess aspect, that inner fire, how that comes out. And then also kind of take a look at the turning of the wheel, also keeping in mind the seasons as well. So it's always a little bit different. Honestly, it's about like taking the temperature of where I'm at right now. And what things am I looking to kind of dust off? What intentions am I looking to set? Boundaries to put down, a bunch of different things. We'll get into the heave ho of all of it. But long story short, long story, too long didn't read. Lots of candles, lots of cards,
Can I ask you a
etc.
question? What kind of intentions would you be celebrating or setting for this kind of holiday?
It's
So
about the seeds of renewal. So she's associated with snowdrops. Snowdrops are one of the first flowers that you'll see that rise in the snow. Do we lose Jake?
I'm back.
Awesome.
Okay, please go on, Melissa. I'm so sorry.
So Imbolc represents the halfway point of the dark to the light. So it starts at Christmas time, our summer solstice. And before we get to the spring solstice, we're at the halfway point. So in Ireland, this was the time where the return of the milk, the goats, sheep start to, get ready for lambing. So it's really it's a holiday about cheese, which who doesn't love that? Maybe it's just me because I'm from Wisconsin, but it's cheese, it's dairy, it's fairies. She was born in a doorway, the place of the in-between. And so she's really associated with a lot of the Fae energy as well. So I do a lot around that too, which they've been having a lot of fun in the house, and Maggie's been jumping at the air. So I know that she's after them. So I always put out my honey and my cream for them. I put it outside. Fairies is a whole nother topic, but I try not to do that stuff in the house. So yeah. I learned once the hard way. I put out some whiskey for him in the house, and my house was nuts for like 2 days. Yeah, I thought I was doing good. I was not. It was a learning experience.
It's trial and error,
Right. But no, I do. I really deep clean the house. It's return to light. So like that spring cleaning, I start with that. I have my St. Bridget's cross above my front door. So I put my oil on that and just kind of give it honor again, because the thing I love about her is she was a goddess and then she was a Catholic saint. So for me, she's the bridge between the two worlds, which is me, like being raised Catholic and still having my Catholic background. I still go to church, and I have her with me. So she makes me feel okay, if you will, between the two worlds. And that's really what it's all about, is finding your place with however it is that you celebrate, however it is that you see the world, your definition of spirituality and religion. So that's why I like her, because she's a good tie.
I feel like that brings up a good point for you, Melissa, and the fact that you've had maybe moments in the past where it's hard to bridge Catholicism with your spiritual gifts. So I think she's definitely probably that gateway in helping you to
She
come
is.
more out and with your gifts.
She is.
You're like, yes, I know. Thank you. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
and I'll
Jake.
salt the floors, I'll bless with holy water. A lot of people will put a fount near their door of water because she's the goddess of the wells. She's the goddess of the fire. She's patron with the wells. Ireland has a lot of holy wells associated with her. Um, she's for the poets, the bards, the smith makers. She's ironwork, she's the healer. So she has a lot of attributes associated with her.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a lot of people can find comfort because they can find a way to relate to her.
I love that. Jake, what
And
were
she
you
has
going
red
to say?
hair, so of course she's awesome.
Yes, exactly. Red hair is awesome. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of like what Melissa was saying, I think that especially in so that same vein of, the archetype of the snowy weather as well, especially those who are living on the East Coast. I think that snow, especially when you look at your window on a snowy day, everything is blanketed white, so it gives like focal point for your vision. You get to see with crystal clear vision, getting to kind of step out of, and it's interesting because we are still in the winter time, but I think with the fiery energy that comes with Imbolc, comes that kind of sense of where we come out of that stasis,
Mhm.
that the winter time, the goddess of the winter is about the rest, the rejuvenation. And this is the time where people start to get into that spring cleaning mode. We kind of getting to that quote unquote nesting almost, because we're getting ready for the spring, for every seed that we plant today to kind of pop up for us in a few weeks. So I think that it's a lot about kind of putting into perspective, what things have we put to the wayside? What do I want to bring in? What are my intentions for my practice in this upcoming year? At least for me, I think that Imbolc is a really kind of awakening time,
Mhm.
and kind of like snaps us awake and says, okay, what have I been putting off?
Okay.
Um, an interesting that I've been finding with clients as well is that with this time of year, I know that everybody is always waiting for that new chapter or like the new year for that opportunity to start living in the now, or to start really kind of stepping into a practice that is just like feels great to them, feels authentic, etc., etc. And I think there's something to be said around this time of the year of, taking a look at, how we assign these new beginnings to certain dates or to certain mile marker moments. And I think that with Imbolc, it's really about finding that kind of mile marker moment within yourself
Mhm.
rather than relying on a brand new chapter. I mean, everybody can think about it. Everybody's got a brand new friend that has a hard time finding fulfillment in the current job that they're in. So they can't wait to be in the next job because that's when it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Or can't wait for the new year because that's when, January 1st hits. I'm going to set all these new intentions. I'm going to be a brand new person,
Right.
and it's all internal. It's we find the biggest blessings by taking a look at ourselves, taking a look at our bookshelf and seeing, what have I forgotten? What have I learned and forgot to put to use? What are my intentions that I set that I forgot to loop back around? Um, there's a quote from Marie Antoinette that the only thing that is new is what's forgotten. You
I
know,
like that.
True.
yeah. So that really kind of comes into play here. And I think that it's all about stepping into and asking yourself questions of, where am I now in my practice? Now that the wheel of the year has kind of turned itself, I brought myself to Imbolc again. Where am I in everything? Who am I? What do I believe in? What do I love? What do I want to get rid of? What have I been waiting for? Things like that. So it's a pretty big kind of meta moment for a lot of people too. I'm sure Melissa can definitely agree. And it's interesting to see how it plays out in different people around us, even those who don't observe it per se.
Yeah, I was pretty cranky, as Rachel knows, like end of last week over the weekend. Actually,
Wouldn't
many
know
people
it at
know I was
all.
kind of cranky. And then I started to listen to my Bridget's book. I listen to it every year. And I'm like, God, I did not reconnect my heart. If I had just done that, I would have felt a lot better. So for
Mhm.
me, when I think about her flame, it's my heart center. So being able to go into my heart space and in the wintertime, we are supposed to be reflective, like Jake says. It's a time of hibernation. And that's one of the things that is wrong with all of us is we don't hibernate. We are constant go, constant stress. We don't take time out for ourselves. And that's what this time should be. It should be the time of the hermit, you know, going within, finding your teacher, which is it's within you if you just learn how to listen to it. So I like to journey into my heart and what's not working in my life? What do I want to improve? And what are the seeds for that? You know, this is the time. A lot of people will buy their seeds right now and have them so they're ready for that planting of the spring. So the idea is you go into your heart center, you find out what is it that you want to change. Sometimes just getting to that identifier of digging between all the layers. Well, I don't like this. Well, it's because of this. It's because of this. And you finally get to the root of it all. Okay, well then how do I fix that? And then when spring comes around, you nurture it. You recognize it's like a young seedling within you. How can you grow it? You have to take care of it. But it has to take root first. And that's what this timing is. And then as you get onto summer, through the wheel, it's about the maturity of it. It's the harvest of it. And then it's the appreciation of that gift that you got. So this really is the start for that year manifesting, for that year goal that you have, you know, call it what you will, your affirmation, your visualization. It's a year-long intention that you are putting into a goal for yourself.
So is this something that you would consider your new year?
Yeah. I mean, technically my new year's my birthday and that's how I celebrate it. And that's how I do my resolutions because I'm special and it's my day and no one else can have it, even though everybody else has my day. Well, actually I did. I found my birthday twin, so I share it with her.
I mean, it's interesting because you're talking about like digging in, planting the seed. What do you want to manifest? What do you want to let go of? I mean, it almost sounds like, you know, setting up New Year's intentions, you know?
It is, and it's going below the surface. I mean, the crocus, you know, the snowdrops, those are the first flowers to come up, and often they are coming up in the snow or kind of the frost. Somebody posted a picture to Facebook today that I saw that they had little shoots starting already here in New York.
Mhm.
Like, oh, those plants. I'm like, get your blankets out, tuck them in. It's too cold.
God bless the Arctic blast that's about to come through.
It really
And
is kind of
about like what you're trying to create for yourself. And then you think of like the crocus, right? The crocus is just this little baby flower, pops up. Most people miss them, you know, if they don't see it. But at first I thought, wow, like what an underappreciated flower. It's not showy with the rest of your summer flowers or your spring tulips. But when you see that first bit of green peeking beneath through this, you know, up through the snow, you're like, oh, it's here. It's coming. Like there's relief from all of it. And that's really what, you know, for me, this time is about.
I love that. So what else do you guys do on this blessed occasion?
What about you, Jake?
Jake?
So I mean, for me, it really is kind of like a spirit, an energetic New Year of sorts, and I think that it's no coincidence. You know, the Chinese New Year was just a few weeks ago. Past, you know, what we would traditionally call the New Year being January 1st. You know, they all seem to kind of align quite well with each other. I do have to say that it's a little bit interesting this season around, or even the past couple years, especially. Historically I've always kind of assigned these really special and sacred days with, you know, the turning of the wheel and the seasons. But I mean, not to get into a big discussion about global warming, but I do find that not seeing as much snow, not seeing as much snowy cold days does kind of take me out a little bit of it, almost. So I think that there is always this kind of sense of me having to like create my own environment indoors, you know, like we historically would, kind of setting up my environment to reflect the holiday. So I mean, I will decorate my altar. So if any of our friends have altars or sacred workspaces that they have at home, which FYI, I think everybody should have a sacred space, you know, at home, a little corner in your house, a little altar of sorts, whatever that looks like for you. But I love to look at the appropriate crystals that I find, you know, really match this time. And I think, Melissa, that's why I picked those red stones for you, is because that's what this time of year is really about. It's about picking up your carnelian. It's about picking up that what connects you to that fiery side of the divine feminine. For me, I do a lot of work with the goddess Kali as well. Because I think there's also something to be said about that kind of meaningful destruction of old ego, old habit, those cobwebs in our corners, you know, to really set ourselves on the best foot forward.
Well, that's the gift of fire, though, to burn away so we can create new. You know, land management, fire is one of the best things that we can do to help get rebirth going.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I completely agree. That's why I think I work so much with candles, especially indoors. I even think that, when the weather permits, I think that even having a really meaningful sacred bonfire is quite moving and powerful as well. Especially those who come from a Celtic tradition and are familiar with that culture too. I think that it's really quite powerful and it's really quite meaningful to connect with that fire, which is, I think, why I also connect with the goddess Kali too. That quite the fiery soul. Um, what was the question?
Well, just what other things we do for like celebrating. So I get really practical. Like I cleaned my stove yesterday, right? Because Bridget's
Yeah.
about the hearth, and we don't have that traditional Celtic hearth, that meeting place, the room with that giant fireplace, although I love that. So I take care of my stove, I clean it. She's also associated with the herd, with animals, with bees. So yesterday I bottled some honey. I, gave Maggie a little blessing, even though she ran away while I was trying to give it to her. I washed her bedding, just little things that kind of make your focus on what you're asking for her protection, for her blessing on for the next year. And then I'll kind of reignite that as the year goes on. I'll tap my St. Bridget's cross, or, I obviously wash Maggie's bedding a lot more than just once a year, but
Yeah, I
No
think that
judgment.
cleaning up clutter is like a big thing that comes up, kind of synonymous with this time of year. I think that intuition and creativity also come to the surface as well. Listening to your intuition, listening to your gut, tapping in, and also just finding, if it's projects, if it's hobbies, things like that, that you really are kind of leaning into. For me, I do a little bit more art around this time of year, and I think that that is just really that kind of inner creator, tapping into that ability to plant seeds, ability to be a fertile space energetically. A lot of times the Empress card will come up a lot for myself in my personal practice. The Empress meaning being able to the immaculate conception of a brand new idea or of a brand new project, and then leaning into your ability to keep that same cycle of birth and setting an intention, creating it, bringing it to fruition. And then learning how to kind of take that torch and run with it throughout the rest of the season, throughout the rest of the year, because we are stepping into spring, we step into summer. So the fiery energy just continues to come to the surface. So it's about taking a look at ambitions, taking a look at what excites you, what drives you, and finding ways to kind of cultivate that. And also taking a look at if we are feeling a little bit disconnected from our projects or from what we love to do or what usually inspires us. Sometimes it's about taking a look at the wheel and saying, okay, well, what have I not connected to in a while? Looking back at our roots as well, bringing those to the surface.
Interesting. I love it. Love it all. It's supposed to be why I just decided.
Quite interesting.
Oh my goodness. Must be why that I just decided to put together a course as of yesterday.
See?
Into those energies. May not know it, but that's what I'm doing. Anyway, Melissa, are you going to be walking us through a ritual?
I have a little blessing.
Oh, a blessing.
I have a blessing.
Light
It's
a
how to
candle.
invoke the fire. Yep. So, and I'm reading it from this book, which, is my favorite. I talk about this book all the time. Read it all year round. And I like it because it gives all aspects of her. It gives her aspects of the saint and aspects of the goddess energy at the same time. So lighting the candle, being safe when you're doing this.
Wait, my lighter's not. Oh, there it is. Woo, Bessie.
There we go.
Get that candle going. You're tapping into previous Rachel time with fire.
You're always on fire, girl.
Woo!
Hey.
Hey.
So this is really about reigniting your spark, your inner spark, your spark, your connectedness to nature, your connectedness to self, your connectedness to the world around you. Remembering that you're not alone, one flame of many flames, one breath of many breaths. So from this book, which is Tending Bridget's Flame by Luana Witherstone, Bridget of the Spark, Bridget of the Flame, Bridget of the Embers, I call you in. Bridget of Inspiration, Bridget of Shielding, Bridget of comfort, I call you in. Be in my flame, O Bridget of courage. Be in my flame, O Bridget of grace. Be in my flame, O Bridget of beauty, this night and every night, this day and every day. May the hearth fire of welcome warm me. May the temple of fire of faith sustain me. May the forge fire of change strengthen me, and Bridget's love encompass me now and evermore. So then what I do is you can blow out the candle if you want, but in a lot of traditions, you snuff it out because you don't want to blow away your wish or blow away your blessing. And then I'll relight this candle when I'm feeling like my heart's off, when I really want to reconnect with her. Oh yeah, Jake, you're way smarter to.
Oh my God, he's got a special tool, guy.
I know.
Well, yeah, it's my freaking altar. You have to have the dramatic tools and whatnot.
Yeah, and like for yours, Rachel, that was good because when we did this at Tony's, I'm like, oh, make sure you really get the embers out before we set off the smoke alarm. We didn't.
That was very nice. Thank you very much.
I love that. Oh, I had all kinds of
Yeah, and
spirits
so
popping
what
in
I
from it.
what I do in this book, there are 19 flames for her. So I do light a candle every night for 19 nights because she had the first 19 nuns that were associated with her that kept her fires burning. And it's a different meditation for each night. It's a different intention for blessing. Like there's one for the oppressed, for children, for the earth, for animals, for water, for gratefulness. So I really do spend basically the next month into this.
That's really cool. I have to tell you though, Jake, I don't know if you noticed. Did you notice as she was doing the blessing that there was something to the right-hand side of her?
There was a bunch of stuff popping
Okay,
up
fine.
as soon as you were
Listen,
doing
I'm
that
not
It
blessing.
was hard. My
Seer.
tongue was getting twisty because they were
I'm
trying to
not a
like
seer
work on
like
it.
you guys are, and the fact that I actually saw something, I was like, woo!
I had closed my eyes and I just like it was a line had just formed. I was just like, oh, okay, y'all, we're doing this blessing. I can't with all this right now.
I love that. That's amazing. Anyway, that was fascinating. When we watch this video, Melissa, you've got to look at.
I'll have to look at it. I could feel it though, because my tongue gets, I call it twisty, but like
Yeah.
it almost feels like that's why I was stumbling. I'm like, I can't read right now because they're trying to take my tongue over and that's not working.
Yes.
I love that. Jake, do you want to pull any cards or anything for this holiday?
Yes, absolutely. And I have already pulled said cards.
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Okie dokie. So I pulled a couple of them for today. So what we have got here is, of course, to no surprise, we have the Empress. Oh, please stop being blurry.
Spirit.
Oh, look at his hair. Oh, how look at that.
I don't understand. Hold on. Okay.
There you go.
So here is the Empress. I really always find that the Mother Mary always pops up around this time of year for me anyway.
Yeah.
And it's really that divinely compassionate part where we really start to heal that inner creatrix. And I say creatrix because it's the feminine version of the creator.
Yeah.
It's really tapping into that meaningful, planting the seeds, taking a look at, okay, really setting intentions of what are my actions in the next weeks moving forward? How do I move around the world in my practice to reflect the version of myself that I am today and who that I want to step into? With the Mother Mary coming in forward today, we also have the Page of Wands. So the Page of Wands asks us, okay, so we have all these beautiful new, stop this. Okay, perfect. So the Page of Wands says that we've got this beautiful new fiery energy that is culminating underneath us. Now, in what ways will we take that and put it into action? How are we going to put them into, for our business gals, how do we make them into action steps? Where do I take my intentions? How do I take this brand new energy? And what do I do to shift? Whether that's my internal narrative, whether that's my thought process, whether that's my practice, my tools that I reach for. How do I take that and how do I take this beautiful creation and bring it in with every step and breath that I take? So it's living with intention, staying with intention. And then, of course, we have the Judgment card. So the Judgment card talks about the I always find that this talks about kind of that instant gratification that can come from these moments in time where we put a lot of intention and we put a lot of work into, okay, I want to build this momentum and this is the direction that I'm planning to go in. But then in a couple of weeks, we kind of start to fizzle out a little bit and then we lose sight of that. So the judgment says, okay, how do I correct old habits in this new chapter, in this new cycle of the year here?
Oh yeah.
How do I do that magical space clearing? Clear up that the clutter in my physical, but also in the internal as well. The judgment card brings up old things, so old resources. So for all of our peeps listening, this is a good time to peruse that bookshelf. What are old books that you've read before and then forgot about? Take a look at your old tools, old resources that you've gathered over the years and say, is there anything that I'm feeling called to reach for lately? Is there anything that I've placed on the back burner that's feeling particularly potent right now for me to reach back into? I am finding myself reaching into several different parts of my practice and my craft that I hadn't really paid much attention to over the past couple of years. It's also about finding that sense of groundedness and getting into that sense of, oh, I know what I'm doing. I know who I am and I know what my practice is, So lots of beautiful stuff. It's really about stepping into that element of fire, while also grounding that at the same time. So it's also keeping that equal parts of the fire and also stepping into that earthly energy as well. How do I ground that into every day? How do I take these big concepts and marry them into even the most mundane parts of our life? So in conversation with others, in our work day to day, in our practice, in the time that we take for ourselves, etc., etc. And then of course we have the goddess Oya, actually, that stepped forward today. Stop what you're doing. Okay. Anyway, so Oya brings forward lightning. So lightning is the energetic storm. So it's the radical being able to strike through any of the clutter, any of the BS, any of the psychic kind of pollution that we might be finding ourselves really caught up in, and also stepping into that archetype of, and that's why I work with Kali, meaningful destruction. Meaningful destruction of old past patterns, of old frameworks, teachings, mindsets, etc. How do we break through that, and how do I step into the element of fire and use it as that destructive sense to clear the path ahead for me, clear some space in the garden?
Love that.
So fun stuff. So
Thank
it's
you
using
so
the fire.
much. That was amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh shucks.
Oh, I'm the best. What's up? Melissa, anything else that you would like to add?
Just to make this a holiday that is easy for you to celebrate, because it's not supposed to be, stressful. Like Christmas can be really stressful. This is supposed to be one that you enjoy. So maybe your way of celebrating is just going to get some cut flowers and bringing life back into the house. Doing something that makes you feel happy, that renews you. Maybe it's a bath. Maybe it's just lighting a candle and sitting with it and giving gratitude.
I love that. Anything else you guys want to add before we wrap up our It's Me Not You podcast episode?
Yes, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share.
Yeah, please give us comments, and please like and subscribe, because we want to keep this going. And we're going to be announcing some contests in the future, so please make sure that you're liking and subscribing. Anything else, Melissa?
Yes. No, that's all.
All right, everybody have a great night.
Bye.
Bye everyone.